Jesus Christ, God incarnate, the most famous person throughout our modern history. For nearly 2,000 years, he has always been depicted as white. However, recently, over the past few decades, this assertion has begun to be challenged, and there is an ongoing debate, if you will, over what he really and truly looked like. Well, is there any evidence, any historical proof, any clues throughout scripture? Let's go through it all one by one. Thanks everyone for 10,000 subscribers. Please do subscribe for future videos. When it comes to the appearance of Christ, who would be a better impartial witness than the man who personally met him and sentenced him to death? Pontius Pilate was a Roman pagan who saw Christ up close and personal. Valerius Paterculus, a Roman historian, met and interviewed Jesus, who reported it to Pilate, who in turn wrote a letter to the Roman emperor, which at the time was Tiberius Caesar. Amongst many things, he gave a description of Christ's appearance. In it, he describes him as follows: his golden coloured hair and beard gave to his appearance a celestial aspect. He appeared to be about 30 years of age. Never have I seen a sweeter or more serene countenance. What a contrast between him and his bearers, with their black beards and tawny complexions. So just by that account, he would sound like many modern Europeans. But let's examine all the other evidence. Are there any other depictions of Christ? We have another one from the Arco volume. In it we can read where Gamaliel was sent by the Sanhedrin to interrogate Joseph and Mary in regards to their child Jesus. It describes Christ as a picture of his mother, only he has not a smooth round face. His hair is a little more golden than hers, though it is much from sunburn as anything else. Who has golden hair and burns in the sun? His eyes are large and a soft blue and rather dull and heavy. This is all sounding very similar to Pilate's letter. Finally, we have another letter which is by Publius Lentulus, which could be translated as a dullard public official, so a Roman official who visited Judea at the time of Christ, and this letter was addressed to the Senate. In it, Christ's hair is described as the colour of chestnut, full ripe down to the ears, so again that would be a blondish colour. Furthermore, he says his face without spot or wrinkle, beautiful with a lovely red. So red cheeks, who do you see red cheeks on? His eyes, grey, clear and quick in reproving hypocrisy. So that's 3 different accounts, all giving a very similar depiction of Christ. However, let's see what the Bible actually says. When God created Adam, the first man, he created him in the image of himself, in the image of God. Since Christ is God, it would only make sense that whatever Adam looked like would give us an idea to Christ's appearance. Furthermore, why did God specifically name the first man Adam? The name Adam is derived from Strong's H119, Adam, meaning to show blood in the face, i.e. to flush or turn rosy. Blushing is a hot red flushing of the cheeks unique to white people when they feel humility, shame or embarrassment, and is often associated with the inability to hold the head up and bear another's gaze. Even Darwin described blushing as the most peculiar and most human of all expressions. So what is God telling us here? That Adam could show blood in the face, could blush, had rosy cheeks. In that case, what would Eve look like, who was from Adam, and what would all their descendants look like? Is it not obvious to what Christ would look like? Throughout the Bible, we see the Israelites commonly described as being ruddy in their appearance. The word ruddy, similar to Adam, means when a white person has a red color, suggesting good health, a rosy complexion, and is associated with blushing or showing blood in the face. In the book of Samuel, we read that when Samuel discovered a young David, he was described as ruddy, with a beautiful countenance and goodly to look at. In other words, he was healthy looking with bright red rosy cheeks. David is again described this way in his duel with Goliath, ruddy with a fair countenance, so that's twice. David's son Solomon in the Songs of Solomon is also described as white and ruddy. It does not get more clearer than that. Since Christ descended from both David and Solomon, would he not resemble them? Would he not also be white and ruddy? Another word often used is fair, which is an Old English adjective meaning to have pale skin or pale yellow golden hair. So fair means light, such as a light white skin complexion, white to rosy red skin, skin, beautiful and pleasing to the eye. In Genesis we read that the sons of God, the angels, saw the daughters of men, Adamites, that they were fair, and they took them wives, all of which they chose. In the book of Job we read, and in all the land there were no women found so fair as the daughters of Job. And in Daniel we read that Daniel and his friends, at the end of 10 days their countenance appeared fairer and fatter in flesh. In Acts we read, in which time Moses was born and was exceeding fair. And back to Songs of Solomon, thou art all fair, my love, there is no spot in thee. Is it not obvious, if all these Israelites were fair, then so was Christ, he must have been white with fair skin. So what was the earliest artwork of Christ and the apostles like? How were they depicted? Looking at the early pictures from churches, monasteries, caves and catacombs, it's clear that Christ was always known to be white. The earliest known images are around the 3rd and 4th century. Initially he had no beard with short hair, but later on the images began to add a thick beard and longer hair. Modern images often tend to follow this today. Early depictions you can also clearly see the apostles were white, just like Christ. There are numerous pictures of Paul and John, as well as Peter and his brother Andrew. There have been attempts to deliberately Photoshop or alter pictures to show a different narrative. So what did Christ look like? Is it not pretty clear from all the evidence? We must remember the apostles travelled to Europe exclusively, and there was never any doubt that they were white. The land around Judea and northern Africa was a white civilization. Only after the Arab conquest, 700 years later, did that permanently change forever. And this is how Christ and the apostles were white. But the people now living in those lands 2,000 years later are not. Thanks for watching everyone. Praise Yahweh and hail Yeshua Christ.